What a year. As the regular season comes to a conclusion, the Sooners conclude their season with a loss, a close one possession game, one of the many that we've had this season. And it's lost 51-48 to Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. Let's talk about that and a little wrap up on the season. All that coming up here in about 10 seconds. I know, Sooner fans, we're here again for another loss, another conversation around a loss as the Sooners conclude the season with a loss to Texas Tech, 51-48 in Lubbock. Thank you all for tuning in here to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. We here always, of course, talk OU football, college football, and sports in general. If you are new to the channel, please hit the like, subscribe, and that bell notification. We drop a lot of content here that helps us with the algorithm, and we love to have you here with the family. If you've been here before, please share. Why? Because sharing is caring. So we are here now for a quick therapy session and conversation around the loss that the Sooners had against Texas Tech and kind of basically the conclusion of the regular season. Now, luckily, the Sooners will be going to a bowl game, so we will have those additional practices. I'll emphasize the importance of that in a moment, but I did want to talk about more so this game and some little nuggets around the season. But yeah, what a year. It's over. Hopefully, you guys feel a little bit better. I had to bring in one of my favorite T-shirts, Patrick Swayze quotes from Roadhouse, Pain Don't Hurt. And I hope you all feel that exact same way when it comes to this season. This was a quote-unquote burn it all down season where we had to redo a lot of stuff. And I know a lot of you are upset. I've had a list of complaints that I've read on the interwebs. I'm going to throw in some fun facts on offense and defensive sides and just keep the optimism going and remind you all, it's not as bad as you think it is. There's a lot of nuance behind what's going on with the team that should make you happy and potentially proud. We just didn't execute this season fully the way we would have liked. There's a lot of reasons, and for the most part, if you understand kind of how things work and why things go the way they go, you'll feel a lot better about things. And so I want to jump into that. But first off, the loss happened. It is unfortunate. This is our fourth loss in a one-possession game. We are 0-4 this season. For context, last season, the team went 6-1 in one-possession games. And this year, all of our losses were in conference. Last year, we went, like I said, 6-1 in one-possession games against Tulane, Nebraska, which were both non-conference, and then the rest were West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas, Iowa State, and then the loss was to Oklahoma State in Bedlam. It's not that bad. We were on the cuffs on both sides this year and last year of having great seasons to bad seasons. All it is about closing, and unfortunately, this team wasn't able to do that, and that's fine. I hope that you all understand that this is a retool season. It really is. Like, it would have been a rebuild if we won only 1 or 2 games. It's a retool because we were able to pull out 6 wins and had 6 losses, 4 of them in one-possession games. We could have easily been, 10-2? It just didn't work out that way. So I felt the need initially to shame Sooner fans because all of y'all are mad. Everybody, well, not all. A lot of you are mad and upset and saying this is Oklahoma. It shouldn't be this way when no team is immune. No school is immune. Everybody goes through this in some capacity, especially when there's a major change. And I'm going to go through y'all's complaints. I'm going to get my rebuttals, either in agreement or disagreement. We're going to talk about the positives at the end of this. So in this game, first and foremost, one of your biggest complaint was the play calling was bad. The play calling wasn't bad. The execution was bad. The one thing we learned about this team this season is we've got a ton of athletes. Not that many football players. And there's a big difference between the two. Charles Barkley said this years ago about Blake Griffin when he first came into the NBA. Former Sooner Blake Griffin. He said that the day that Blake Griffin learns how to play basketball, he could be the greatest power forward to play the game. And I understood, at first I didn't understand what he meant, but then I started paying attention to what he's saying. Blake lived off of his athleticism, his ability to dominate physically. And as soon as those physical tools start going away, his entire game disappeared. Didn't mean that Blake wasn't great. It meant that the fundamentals needed to keep him going at a high level weren't there. Because he didn't really learn basketball. He just learned how to be dominant because he was a monster. Shaq was kind of the same way. And you see that. And Charles Barkley was the same way as well. And I think that's why he noticed that. He could have been the greatest if he just knew the game of basketball better. Football, same thing. We got a team full of athletes, monsters that could be something. They just don't have the technique. They weren't coached up on it. And it takes a while to break old habits. We just recognize that in a lot of these games. So when it comes to play calling, the play calling is bad. I don't believe that. I've said this in a few people in the comments that I think our biggest problem is that the plays that we were calling were the ones that the personnel could execute on. And I say that because our offense gained 672 yards. Eric Gray had over 100 yards rushing in this game. Marvin Mims hit the 1,000-yard mark this season after this game. He had 162 yards, and Theo Weiss had his first 100-yard games this season. We were cooking on the offensive side. Now, our possessions got to the point where they were short. One of the complaints I've said is that we move too fast. And what happens when you move too fast sometimes? Defense is kind of prepared. You don't execute properly on that block. The block wasn't held long enough. The hole wasn't there quite as long as it should have been. Missed it by half a second. And your possessions start coming at 55 seconds, a minute and 12 seconds, a minute and 18 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And when you have those short possessions, all you're doing is putting your defense right back on the field. A defense that we lack depth in right now. Not saying the players behind everybody's bad. They're just not ready. And you can tell. People look lost. Once you start doing those subs, you start seeing people get lost. And that's why you see a lot of the starters play more, and all they do is get tired. That's something that's being addressed right now with these recruiting classes, is getting the right type of depth that's prepared for these games. Also, strength and conditioning is key. It takes you about a year for your body to see a true change when you start exercises and training hard. It's going to take us about a year to get there. Next up, the defense is bad. The defense lacks depth. They were executing. In this game, we started off 17-0, and then we were 24-6. That was our leads that we had throughout large chunks of the game. What happened? Depth. At a certain point, you get tired. I've always said the offense got to help the defense, and the defense got to help the offense. The defense got to get off the field so the offense can get on the field and either score quickly or hold the ball for a long time. Our offense isn't built to hold the ball a long time. Because if you notice with our runs, either we get 2 yards or we get 12. There's really very little in between in the way that our offenses ran. And it's more so because of execution. We either heavily execute or we miss on everything when it comes to runs. Dillion Gabriel was throwing some beautiful passes. Got some pass interferences you should have. We missed out on like 2 pass interferences in the game that we should have gotten because the defenders did hit our players early. Can't do anything about that, right? But we kept putting those players in the right positions to get those calls, and we did what we were supposed to do. It ain't perfect, but it happened. So the defense is just lacking depth. They got tired. You can tell. They were out of position, mental mistakes. You could see it. Dillion Gabriel is bad. Saw a lot of that. Oh, he sucks. He's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of hard to be terrible when you throw for over 440 plus yards. He threw 449 yards in this game. He had 21 rushing yards, and he also had that one catch for 13. Dillion Gabriel had a good game. Dillion Gabriel did his job. All Dillion Gabriel needed to do, honestly, not more. That Javonte Barnes drop hurt. That was a touchdown. He was going to catch that and run straight up the middle and be gone. We did a lot of stuff like that in the game. There's a lot of games where we have our wide receivers drop passes. Even the best ones. Mims has dropped touchdowns. We've seen Farouk drop a touchdown. We've seen Theo Wees drop a touchdown. We see Braden Willis drop a touchdown. Hell, he dropped the fake punt. Not to knock him, but I'm pointing out that a lot of stuff just did not line up in the game. The little things we got to execute on. And that's the thing that we're working on. Pain don't hurt. We're in pain. Don't hurt. Your body physically goes through pain whenever you're growing. And that's what we're doing. The team is going through pain because we're growing. We're growing. We're getting better. Lastly, the 3-3-5 didn't work. We need to go 4 down all the time. We held them. It was 24-6 with the 3-man down. We were getting pressure. We got really good pressure in this game. And we just did not execute in the end. What the problem has always been is that we start off strong and we don't close well. And that's something that comes with depth. When you get better depth, you can close better. We'll get there. This was, the team was still running on high energy at the Nebraska game, and we just have not had a game like that since Bedlam. In that game, we stalled. But overall, we just have not had the consistency we need to continue to win. But that'll come. It's going to be a long video. So let's jump to the fun facts. And these are things that foundation-wise is why I'm not worried about this retool. One Sooner fan I follow, Creo, she tweeted this out and I thought it was fantastic. She pointed out that a lot of Sooner fans have been saying they're praising basically the Matt Rule burn it all down philosophy and start from scratch deal that he's going to especially do in Nebraska. They're praising that. They're losing their shit about Brent Venables right now. Did y'all think that we were going to just wake up the next day and be just as dominant as before? Do y'all realize that the Heisman Trophy winner this year was our former quarterback? Think about that. The dude that basically rescued us in all of those one-possession games is about to win the Heisman Trophy. I'm going to do a video on USC and got to give them props. Lincoln Riley is a great coach. He hasn't been able to close. Let's see if he can now. But Caleb Williams is the truth. And Dillion Gabriel is not Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams does everything. Dillion Gabriel is a really solid passer. Can't do it all by himself, though. Never been built that way. We've been spoiled as Sooner fans with quarterbacks that do everything every year. And this is the first year we didn't have that. We lost 2 quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, who did a really good job for South Carolina the last 2 games against Tennessee and against Clemson. And then you got Caleb Williams, who's burning things up on the West Coast. We just got to get back to that point. We're going to bring in some elite quarterbacks. Don't worry. I think we have our Trevor Lawrence coming. We got Jackson Arnold coming in, and I think he's going to be a monster. I like where Nick Evers is going to be. It wasn't this year, but he'll be ready next year. We've got talent. It's going to happen, so don't worry. And that's fun facts. It's some things that warmed me up about this team and makes me see that there's a foundation laid. We're 4th in the country in tackles for loss at 98. 7th in yards on those tackles for loss, 385. That's huge. That means we're getting in the backfield and we're making the tackles and we're actually closing them out. We just got to do it more. But we're number 4 in the country doing this. Something that Brent Venables has always been great at. If we weren't at this position, I'd be concerned about the defense. That tells me that it's there. It's just not executed on every single play. That takes time. 64th in sacks, 26. That's not a good number. We're getting tackles for loss. We're just not closing out on the quarterback. It's fine. That's a number that comes once we get better at our technique and playing. And we're 70th in defensive yards per play. Tied for. So we give up some solid yards per play, and it's usually because of a lot of big plays we give up later in the game. In the beginning of the game, it's a different story. This team is absurd. Except for the Texas and the TCU game, this defense has been absurd in the beginning of the games. Absurd. It's just we don't close. That's okay. We'll get there. Fun fact on the offensive side, we're 17th in total offense, 472 yards per game. Levy's doing his job. We have an elite offense. They're doing it. I'm not sure if y'all noticed that they put up a lot of numbers. 44th in pass, 255 yards per game. Don't have to pass it a lot, but we're 13th in run And everybody's complaint is, oh, we need to run the clock out. We run the ball. We get 216 yards per game. Problem is we get a lot of big games. Eric Gray, 161 yards in this game, 5.8 yards per carry. We get a lot of first downs on runs pretty quickly. But then it stalls. We stop. We get boom, 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 3 plays in a row, and we have to punt. Now, if there's anything I'd say we should do is we should probably start playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Because everybody's complaint has been, oh, we need to put our foot on people's throat and blow them out. That's what they were trying to do. If you've noticed the play call, we're still going deep on passes. We're still running the ball down their throat, hitting the holes, getting big yards, and it just doesn't always work that way. They're not slowing down. If they were slowing down, we would be playing not to lose. So I think fans, overall, you need to make a choice. Do you want us to play to win or play not to lose? Because I'm not sure which one you all want. Outside of that, I think that this season was a great way for us to understand what pain is, because it don't hurt. It's all about growth. And we're going to get there. Sooner fans, it'll be okay. Jump in the comments. Let me know how you feel. I know you're all upset. I'll comment to you all as I go. I'm about to travel. But as I go, I will give you some statements and stuff. Levy did his job. Our offense is up there. Our defense has a foundation. We just got to build the depth. We had a top 10 class last year that was piecemealed. In-home visits start this month. We'll be able to piecemeal another top 10 class. That's 2 straight classes of top 10 talent, especially on the defensive side, that we're going to push heavy on to be dominant and really good next year. I expect these defensive numbers to go up. I expect us to remain top 5 in tackles for loss. I expect us to be in the top 30 in sacks, and I expect the yards per game to drop. We shouldn't be in the 70th in the defensive yards per play. We'll probably be in the top 30. I expect the phases to go, and then we'll have a top 5 defense in year 4. All right? They'll give him this kind of time because he needs it. We're doing what we're supposed to do. So thank y'all for tuning in. Of course, hit the like, subscribe button as well as share, because sharing is caring. And we'll have some more videos as we get ready for the craziness of the transfer portal and early signing period over the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out. I'll be chopping up with y'all, I don't know, day or two of some change. Peace.